We spent the past couple of years in a crazy hot market. Louisville home sales decline as demand outpaces supply. Effective communication is at the core of any situation. If you master these two ideas, you'll have a chance of being successful at residential real estate marketing. I think you need to be looking for investment opportunities that move the needle. The market will never crash if demand exceeds supply. This is what I've been telling you all along.
This is the Jay Pitts Show. And we're back, folks. Welcome back to the Jay Pitts Show here on Talk Radio 1080. I am your host, Jay Pitts, here with Ryan Harris. No guest host this week. We're getting used to having Ryan back on the premises, but I'm sure he's got a good show. We didn't get to like that stump me kind of question last week. I'm curious if he's going to make up for it today. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, there's going to be I would call this show This or That.
This or that
is the theme behind it.
That's the theme.
This or that. We're going to be giving you a couple options and hearing what you have to say.
Okay.
I was just wondering or thinking about, it'll be interesting if I ever have to do one of these shows without you.
Hey, you know what? It's the thing. It's a gift and a curse. I have lots of opinions, unfortunately. I also like to share them.
Yeah.
So, but I'm sure you'd be fine.
Oh, yeah. Maybe I'll just do a solo episode, just talk to myself.
That is not, I will say that is not easy.
Yeah.
And Hannah can attest. Like, she got the opportunity to do a few of those with me. They're just not, they're intense. Like, you have to feel really passionately about what you're saying. And you have to, I always lost inspiration for long periods of time, having to carry episodes entirely by yourself with literally no one to ask a question. Like, it's just tough. It's like you're here's what I picture it being like: standing in front of a room of college kids doing a lecture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they're not giving you any feedback. There's really not any questions. Like, you're talking for an hour, and I'm picturing the people listening like being the bored college kids that don't.
Probably hungover.
Like, yeah, let's hear what Jay has to say. Anyway. All right. What we got?
Let's start with how we always do with the consumer real estate question.
Okay.
And this person wrote in and said, Jay, does it matter if my real estate agent has a large following on social media?
That's a good question. It's a really good one. Okay. So I'm going to give a direct answer, and I'm going to say yes, it does matter. However, in the market we've been in over the last several years, listings have basically sold themselves, and the marketing has not moved the needle as much as it did in years past or as it will in years to come. I'd say we've gotten a glimpse of it for, last winter. We got a glimpse of it rolling into January, Q4 of 22. We've gotten a glimpse of it, as Q3, is ramping up here in 23 with rates inclining. Marketing can make the difference, right? But there's still just so little supply that your house will sell if it's priced right. But why does it matter when it matters? It matters because we're just distilling down. We're moving down the funnel, right? Some of you have probably heard of a sales funnel, some may not, but just picture a funnel, right? We're trying to get the thing we want is what comes out of the bottom of the funnel, right? In this case, it's a sale. In this consumer's case, it's the sale of their one specific home. They don't care how many homes sell and what they sell for around unless it impacts whether theirs sells and what it sells for. So the more people that you grab attention from, okay, i.e. social media following, the better marketing you do, the more interest you get in that specific property, or the more specific interest you get in your properties that you represent as an agent, the more interest you get in your properties that you manage the marketing for, the more individual and specific attention each property gets. The more individual and specific interest those properties get, the more likely they are to sell quicker and for more money and meet favorable terms for that seller. So yes, it matters, but I'll say this also, I think my points are echoed and proven by the fact that I don't have numbers for 22, but for 21, and 23 is not over. So I don't have numbers for 22 and 23 is not over, but for 2021, the smallest percentage of sales occurred via for sale by owner, percentage wise, in the history of the time we've kept the records, which is like since 1972.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
So 7% of all transactions were for sale by owner, smallest on record. So that tells you the agent makes a difference.
Isn't that funny how in this day and age when the loudest people out there are talking about how real estate agents are going to go away or be obsolete, the facts say the complete opposite. More, on that same thing. I can't remember exactly what the percentage is. It's, somewhere around 93, 94%, but the highest percentage of people ever used a real estate agent in their transaction.
Yeah. It says something. It says something. It says that the consumer is validating our worth. And so, I think that goes back to the question, right? If your agent makes a difference or not. Does their following make a difference? Yes, it does. It absolutely matters. I mean, I'm sure you've seen, but like we're going on a review binge right now. We're trying to get to 1,000 reviews on Google.
Mm-hmm. I've seen that.
So we're at like 750.
Say, wasn't that the original goal?
I make different goals. 500. I think we were like 510, and I set a goal, and we got 240 reviews in a week, and they're gonna keep going. But it's because you commit to this identity, and I'm not prepared to allow anybody to eclipse us.
Mm-hmm.
And so the effort, regardless of the cost, that we're going to put in the effort.
Yeah, I got a couple things coming out of that. So first, do you weigh Google reviews or Zillow reviews is more important now?
Nowadays, it's Google. Used to be Zillow. Mm-hmm. Zillow was the review engine for real estate agents. It was the search engine for real estate agents, if you will. I used to get what you call the come list me call, right? Like where consumers would research agents on Google or on Zillow and then Google you and then call you directly and say, hey, you have the more reviews than anybody, or you have the best profile on Zillow. Okay, I need to meet with you. And Zillow became wise to it, so they made it more challenging. The reviews are kind of hidden. You have to go find them now.
Yeah.
And so it's not that there's no value in them, right? It also used to the consumer would have to select one of 3 agents displayed to contact. And so your profile strength determined how often you got selected. That's not the case anymore. So I put a lot of value on Google reviews. That's where we go.
Yeah. And just for the listeners out there, when I ask that question, I'm asking you're number one in the city.
In both.
For both, correct?
Yeah,
by a lot.
In the state, I believe.
State.
I wasn't on Google. That's what motivated me.
Yeah.
Give you a little insight into how I work. I pull up and there's a company out of Lexington reviewing or advertising in Louisville. They don't work in Louisville, but I type in Louisville Realtor. If you know how Google local service ads work, when you Google a Louisville plumber or plumber near me, right? It's going to serve you a list of ads that don't look like ads. They look like contact cards on mobile. They look like it on desktop too, but those businesses pay for that placement. We do as well. And these are great leads for us because the consumer is looking for a real estate agent, not for a property. We don't have to cross-sell them from interest in a property to being interested in working with us. They're actually looking for the best realtor, whether it be a seller or a buyer that's just incredibly informed. So this is really valuable to me. Having the most reviews means I show up higher on that list when people make those short keyword searches. Mm-hmm. And so I pay for it. I just incentivize my agents to go out and get reviews so that we show up at a higher level.
Yeah. This sounds crazy to say, as your goal is to reach 1,000 reviews on Google, but I feel like if you're a new agent and you go put some focus on Google reviews, you'd still be early to the rest of the industry. I don't feel like the industry's looking at Google reviews or focusing on them much.
The industry doesn't, and it's part of that is because of Google. Google is incredibly difficult to work with, right? I mean, it's like any of the other major tech players. Customer service is not their thing. Like I got my my Facebook marketplace shut down. I'm just trying to sell a vehicle, my own personal vehicle, and I got shut down. I didn't adhere to community standards. I've contested it 3 times. I've been rejected 3 times. There's not a person you can talk to or an email you can send. I get to make no argument. You click one button that says contest. That's what it feels like working with Google. Our way of like lead intake and like the level that we work to serve these consumers, it's impeccable.
Mm-hmm.
And Google's is like, download this app. No, you can't call from it. There's literally the phone number in the Google's app is not hyperlinked. You can't make a phone call from their app. I can't download them into a CRM. I can't launch a campaign with, from the best CRM that exists in real estate. I can't launch a campaign to serve these leads. I have to manually input them, look at one screen and type on another to input them into my CRM to be able to engage with that lead. It's just, and they have no interest is the thing.
Yeah, and if they're all that way, there's got to be a reason for it.
Well, they're I
really want 1 billion people calling them. How many call centers would they have to have?
I get what you mean. I thought you meant
it's purposeful, I feel like.
Yeah, but here's what I think they do. I think they say, 27% of GDP is in real estate, and people search for real estate agents on our website. So we should monetize that, even if we're not going to be very good at it.
Yeah.
And like, I would pay them quadruple what I pay them to just have a better process.
The Google experience has really gotten bad. You search something, you get 9, 10 ads, which
it is bad.
Once again, it sounds bad to come back to this. I go search things a lot on TikTok if I'm looking for something, or Chat GPT now.
Yeah.
But we're going to cut to a couple ad sponsors, and we'll be back on the Jay Pitts Show, Talk Radio 1080, Real News, Real Talk. See you in a sec.
And we're back, folks. Welcome back to the Jay Pitts Show. So, talked a little consumer real estate questions, social media, and the like in the last episode. We're usually doing that in segment 1. So, I think we're going to get to some kind of this or that, maybe, is as Ryan says.
We're going to get to that in a second. First, I did want to go over this Broke Agent media article titled 5 Home Buying Misconceptions Americans Believe. And I love the cover picture they have for this, Mythbusters.
Yeah.
That's an old school one I used to watch all the time.
Yeah, I loved Mythbusters. I thought those guys were fun.
They were. There's always one episode I remember more than any of the others for some reason, and it was the episode where do you get less wet if you run through the rain? Like, it starts raining and you run to get to your inside. Do you get less wet if you do that? And I think it came out as inconclusive.
Oh,
because there was really no good way to test it.
I'm going to say more. I would say more because you're like, I bet I'm picturing in my mind. I didn't see the episode, but they're them like with some sort of graph showing that like how long it takes for rain to get from like 6 feet in the air to like the ground, and like as you run, you encounter more raindrops.
So as best as I can remember, that it was not that scientific. I think they had some jumpsuit they put on with sponges, and they weighed the sponges after, something like that. So not very scientific, and that's why it came out as inconclusive.
That's pretty funny.
I don't think I don't think people run through the rain because they want to get less wet. I think it's because they want to spend less time in the rain.
I would agree. But that dude's facial hair just made the show, and his little beret. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Anyway,
they were good.
Right. So misconceptions of consumer real estate people.
Yeah. So misconception number 1. And this is misconceptions that Americans believe. So misconception number 1, consumers underestimate the median home sale price. It says among those who underestimate the price, 23% believe that the median home price falls between $200,000 and $300,000, while another 23% peg it between $300,000 and $400,000. However, at the time of the study, the median price for home in the United States is $436,800. Yet only 14% of people knew that or guessed correctly.
Yeah. I mean, so this is like, I feel like, and this is going to be a bit of a reach. This is like an electoral college conversation.
Yeah.
You following me where I'm going with that?
Uh-huh.
It's like, if you look at the map, right, and you color in the states that vote a certain way, right, and we're just going to go with the red and blue. the most of the country by square miles will be red, but those areas are not densely populated. The very densely populated areas are all blue, right? And so it's the same thing with high home prices, right? So if you ask the majority of, I guess you can't even say the majority of people because they're more heavily, the higher prices are in areas where it's more densely populated. So those people would probably come closer to getting the answer correct. But everyone else is going to be drastically closer to their own median price, not the national median price. So it's to say that people in Missouri don't understand home prices in California. I think that's obvious.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, I'm kind of not with this one. If I'm buying and selling, I'm going to sell this misconception because I think it's on a false premise.
Yeah. This reminded me of a
It's
graphic.
True. It's true, but it just doesn't have any impact. Go ahead.
So I saw this graphic a couple days ago. So picture a map of the United States laid out, and you draw a circle. They're like the Midwest down to Florida, top of Texas, and like curves around in front of California. So it doesn't include California, and then connects back up at the top. And in that circle, it said, this is the area where people have big closets but get made fun of if they wear cool clothes. And on the outside, it says, this is where people have small closets but have cool clothes. So New York, California, I thought that was hilarious.
You can't afford a big closet, but you're expected to have really cool clothes
Yes.
when you live in those areas.
Yeah.
And then if you have cool clothes and a big closet, you're going to get made fun of.
Yeah, I thought that was great.
That's pretty good.
And it really is. I mean,
Yeah, pretty good.
spot on.
Pretty good.
So I don't want to talk about all these misconceptions, just the ones I think are the most interesting or surprising. So we'll skip misconception number 2. It just said, people don't really understand where interest rates are right now.
Yeah.
Misconception number 3 is about down payment and mortgages. So most people still believe you have to put 20% down when buying a home.
Yeah, that's, unfortunate because it's not even close to true.
And it just shows, I think, real estate agents listening out there, like, you can still educate people on this.
For sure.
As it seems like common sense to you, but it's not common sense to the consumer out there.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Then number 5, I think this one was surprising. The home buying process. So it says among homeowners, 30% find the unexpectedly high cost of closing expenses to be the most surprising aspect of purchasing a home. Almost 1 in 6 homeowners, which is 17%, stated the volume of offers they had to submit before one was approved was the most surprising. So first off, it was the high cost of closing expenses, and then how many offers they had to submit before they got under contract.
Yeah, that one's surprising to me too, because I do think that if you have the monetary concern over what the closing costs are, then in a lot of cases those are getting wrapped in and asked to be contributed by the seller. I could understand the amount of offers being surprising, but that's momentary. That's based on the briskness of the market at the time that the people were surveyed. So, yeah, I'm a little surprised to hear that people found closing costs unexpectedly high.
Yeah. And then some others, they were surprised. So 29% were most surprised by how fast homes sold. 27% were most surprised by what makes up closing costs. Home buyers are most surprised by the length of the process. That was 26%. Those were kind of the most interesting ones.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think what this just shows is there's a lot for agents to
educate
out there.
That's true. I think we make the unfortunate assumption that we're going to offend people by telling them something that they already know.
And there's ways to word it where you're not telling them, you're hinting at it.
Yeah, it's ultimately just you're required, if you're going to be successful in this business, to be a good communicator. And that shouldn't be a surprise to anyone.
And there's a lot of bad communicators out there in this industry. I saw Byron Lazine. He was lighting up Twitter and Instagram yesterday about the weakest close or sell in the real estate industry is if you're looking to buy or sell, contact me.
Yeah, so weak.
I hate seeing that on posts.
It's awful.
Like, you do need a call to action, but it can be better than that. And you don't you don't just need to throw that on top of a picture of a house. Like, provide some value, and people know to reach out to you.
It's not that hard. It's not that hard. There's plenty that people don't understand that you can contribute with.
Yeah.
Period.
All right, let's get into the this or that's.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you some questions. You tell me what you decide or what your preference is. So do you prefer investing in residential or commercial properties?
Residential. From an investing standpoint, I prefer investing in residential. Lately, selling commercial has been more fun for me. But
talk about some of the differences. Like, so why do you prefer buying residential versus commercial for your rental properties?
I think it's
and what's better about selling commercial properties?
Yeah, I think investing in residential is liquidity, diversification and liquidity. I certainly understand that, like Warren Buffett, like if you know it and you know it's a home run, you go all in. Like I'm good with all that, right? But like if you buy rental houses in slightly different locations, it's really hard to imagine that, the market will tank to a point that would harm you in multiple locations. Apartments, a building can turn a lot quicker. A 10-unit building can turn a lot quicker than 10 separate single-family houses. So,
sure.
If you're not looking for scale, which is, I think, as an investing community, we're too highly leveraged and we're too enamored with scale anymore. I agree and understand and appreciate apartments as much as anyone, but like these people that are willing to buy bad apartments, bad investments because of scale, and like how many that are concerned with how many doors you have, quote unquote. I think that's unfortunate.
What if we look at commercial as just leasing buildings to businesses? So you own a building and you lease it to a business.
Well, and that's a great segue too, Ryan, because into what's great about selling a commercial property is, and it's momentary for me, right? Because I'm in a stage of life where my personal time is very important to me, and not that it won't always be, but like as my kids are young and they're invested in activities and things like that, I like to be there. I want to be there. I won't not be there. So, showing houses at 8 p.m. on a Thursday is not a reality for me, much less, noon on a Saturday. So commercial's 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. And businesses businesses that would lease from you in commercial property, if you're invested there, would be the same way, mainly. You're not going to get a 3 a.m.
and other commercial agents.
Exactly. That's the way commercial agents expect it. That's the way commercial tenants expect it. So, residential clients on the buying side expect 24-hour access nearly, and I'm just not prepared to give it right now.
Sure.
So,
cool. All right, we're going to come to a couple of ad sponsors, and we'll be right back with This or That's with Jay. We're going to get away from some real estate ones here in a sec, I promise, but this is Talk Radio, 1080, Real News, Real Talk. See you in a sec. Welcome back to the Jay Pitts Show. I'm your co-host, Ryan Harris. This is Talk Radio 1080, Real News, Real Talk. Jay, you mentioned Warren Buffett's name a little bit ago. Not sure if you saw this, but people think of him as this traditional investor, which he is. And when people think of traditional investing, they think of diversify. But he's kind of breaking that mold at this point, where 52% of his money is in Apple.
Dude, when he sees something, he goes, well, so originally, you talk about it with other plays, like Geico was a big one for him. He went crazy heavy into Geico. Clayton Mobile Homes was another one. Now, they've morphed that into one of the nation's largest builders. So anyway, yes, Warren is not afraid to pony up when it's time to get busy on something that he really feels is a home run.
Yeah. And I also saw on this post on, I don't know whether they're to call it Twitter or X. I'm going to keep calling it Twitter, but the post I saw that on Twitter underneath, it said, well, he missed the best stock trade of the last 20 years, Monster. I guess it has the highest returns for the last 20 years.
Really?
So kind of crazy.
Interesting.
But all right, let's get back to another This or That. This is another real estate one, but buy and hold or fix and flip.
I don't know that I can answer that. That's tough. This is probably the toughest one to answer because I feel pretty passionately about both. I think I would do either. I don't know that I'm going to answer, man. To be honest, I guess if I have to answer, I'd say buy and hold, just because I think it's probably the better long-term wealth strategy. And if I have to forego immediacy for long-term, I would. But fix and flip is the most fun. For me personally, the most fun part of real estate, because something about the transformation from something ugly to something great, something, dysfunctional to very functional, like I think is what I get really addicted to when I'm in the midst of it. I mean, and when I say addicted, like I am at the job site multiple times every single day, personally looking at strategizing, making, moves. But I mean, undoubtedly, my wealth has been significantly impacted from buy and hold.
Okay.
I mean, anything where you can buy cheap relative to what it will ultimately be worth, and someone else pays you a dividend essentially by rent to pay down whatever debt you have. Yeah, man.
Yeah, but
That's where it's at.
you really look at, I'm sure fix and flipping helped you buy and hold.
Well, of course, they're both necessary, and I think fix and flip is the best way to raise capital to invest in long-term assets.
Speaking of fixing, not so much flipping, but Todd Shelburne, husband of Emily Hughes Shelburne on your team.
Sure.
He's
just won the remodeled home show.
That, and then HGTV Urban Oasis, the home giveaway they do. He was the main guy over that. So
very
pretty cool. Pretty sweet to see.
Well, it's nice to see because he's always been a super talented guy, and it's just nice to see it acknowledged.
Sure.
We've watched him renovate their personal homes, and like you've seen it, and we've listed and sold their personal homes, and it's just nice to see him get some acknowledgement for it because he's a super talented guy. And, it's funny because Emily is a very stylish person, and everybody, she laughs because people make assumptions that like the selections for their personal home were made by her. And she's like, I didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah,
he did it all. Literally the design, start to finish was all him. Not just the renovation, like the act, like down to the furniture.
Yeah, and to be fair, Emily's selling enough homes where she probably doesn't have the time to make those decisions.
No, and a new mom, and it's just cool. It's cool.
Yeah, it is cool, and it's a cool house. It's unique. It's not what you would think. It's pretty awesome. So, okay, we're gonna get away from the real estate this or that. If we need to come back to them, we will. But we'll get down to some of the good questions. So. Jay, would you rather be the smartest person in the world or the richest person in the world?
I feel like this is a trap. It's a bit of a trap. All right, I'm going to just say it. I'm going to say I'd rather be the smartest person in the world. And here's why. If I'm the smartest person in the world, then I'm going to be wealthy, probably beyond belief. And there's very little that being the richest person in the world affords you that it doesn't afford, or that just a plain old billionaire wouldn't be afforded. I heard something once upon a time that a $250,000 salary employed by a billionaire is the same thing as a person making $250,000 employing a minimum wage employee. So if you think about that, you can literally what is the quality and the ability to achieve, and someone with a $250,000 guaranteed salary. It's a very talented individual, and a billionaire can just hire people like that. As if it's minimum wage. That's the equivalent. Okay. So in my mind, if I'm just a billionaire, and I think is a pretty decent chance, if I'm the smartest person in the world I could be, my life's going to be pretty good because I can just, have all the hard stuff done by really, really smart, amazing people.
Yeah, this made me think of this Shaq interview. I don't know if you ever saw this, but they asked somebody was trying to, kind of joke on him, like, didn't graduate college. And he goes, no, but all the people that work for me did.
That's a good one. That is a good one. I've seen Shaq in person, and he is. He's freakishly large.
Yeah, I've heard it's just.
I'm not a small dude.
He's large, but it's
when you see him in
hard
person,
to, like,
it's shocking.
Believe, and it's
shocking.
You're a real human,
and he's gained a lot of weight, since his playing career. So he just looks even bigger.
Yeah,
I mean it's pretty crazy. But here's another thing. Just going back to that. I think you look at Elon Musk is recognized as the world's wealthiest person. I think
he still is,
and if he wasn't, he recently was. It's very clear to me that guy is born to be that person, right? The way he acts, the things he does, the moves he makes. He wants to be the wealthiest man in the world.
Yeah.
I don't have that desire. Like, I just don't.
I tell you what I don't understand. If I'm a billionaire and I have all the money in the world to spend, I'm buying a sports franchise, a professional sports franchise. You get to play real life fantasy, like
real life fantasy football. That's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool thing. Like, I mean, is it like
what are you actually thinking if you don't buy?
Do you have to be the majority shareholder, or can it be like you have a 10% stake in the Derby winner?
Oh, you'd want to.
Like,
I think you'd want to be known as
you want to be the one. Mm-hmm. You want to be Mark Cuban, basically. I mean, not Mark Cuban, but like I'm sure he doesn't own 100%.
I'd want to buy an NFL team,
but whatever. Yeah, that's good.
And you get to know.
Well,
it's the smartest financial decision a billionaire can make.
I think so. It's been recession proof for a long time.
I mean, Dan Snyder, owned the Washington football team, and they never made the playoffs. Had like two Pro Bowlers, and he made like $3 billion on the deal. Basically invested nothing into the team.
It's pretty wild. Yeah, so I'm going to be the richest, or not the richest. I'm going to be the smartest.
Yeah, I'll do that too. I'm going to be the smartest.
I think so. And I wouldn't even have to be a billionaire.
I should have thrown into this that the highest salary you can make in a year is $100,000.
Well, if that would have changed it. Yeah. That would have changed it. I'd be curious to know. This is a bit of a pivot, but what is the salary cap or the wealth cap, if you will, at which you would reach peak happiness for you? Like, every dollar I possess above this adds zero happiness. Because there's a number, right? There's a number, and I know money doesn't equate to happiness, but the lack of money can prevent happiness to a certain extent. So at what point does money become irrelevant?
You have this money and you don't have to work anymore?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, well, I think that goes into the equation, right? Because I think when you become 100% in control of your time for the rest of your days, that's got to add happiness, right?
Has to. Being
able to not be limited in anything you wanted to do.
Go golf every day.
I mean, if that's what you want to do, great. Go to the Super Bowl, travel the world, go to the Great Wall of China. I don't know what you like, but when you're no longer limited in any way, shape, or form, I'd be curious to know where is that reached?
Yeah, I'm sure there's studies on this, and I'm sure it's different from person to person. I've heard Gary Vee talk about this, how he has friends that make $50,000 a year salary, and they're 10 times happier than friends of his that are worth $100 million.
Yeah, I can see that.
So I think it's definitely different from person to person. I think there's also a real thing as you make more money and your lifestyle kind of gets better and increases. You want to keep that, and then you increase it a little more, and you want to make more money, and it can kind of be this like
vicious
never-ending cycle.
That's what I'm curious. I don't know that I have an answer for it, but I think that there is an amount that you would reach peak happiness. So, all right, that's all the time we got for you this segment. We will be right back after a couple of sponsors right here on the Jay Pitt Show, Talk Radio 1080.
Welcome back to the Jay Pitt Show. I'm your co-host, Ryan Harris. This is Talk Radio 1080. This is the last bit of time we're going to spend with you today. And I saved, this show we've been doing this or that. So I've been making Jay's brain work and make hard decisions. So I saved one of the best ones for last, like I said. I've actually, I try not to think about these myself before I ask them to you. Now, this one I'm going to ask, I did think about, and I still struggle with my choice on it. So, would you rather owe someone money? Let's say it's, pretty significant money, or like you owe somebody a pretty significant favor, like you might have to do something illegal for them because they did something for you.
You had to go with illegal. I'm looking down at the sheet and I said, owe someone money or a favor. And I'm thinking, well, a favor, obviously. But now it's illegal. Oh, man. I don't know. I guess if it's illegal, I'd rather owe somebody money. If it's not illegal, then I'd rather owe somebody a favor. Like if it is a noble favor, like a big one that's hard and it's going to take a lot of sacrifice, I'm fine with that. I do not like owing people money at all.
Same.
Like I have always been the type that, this is a little of my father coming out in me, but like when you hire a contractor, like I pay immediately. I am at the job site when the job is completed with a check.
And think about that, contractors aren't used to that. So if you can do that for them,
they want to work for you.
Correct. Yeah.
So you get better prices, you get more availability. Yeah. And so it is a strategy for sure. But yeah, I mean, if I got to do something illegal,
I'd still rather owe that favor. I hate owing people money.
Well, I do too, but like,
this is my least favorite people. I'm sure you've been through this. Bachelor parties.
Oh,
the people that don't pay up like for a long time, or you like have to harass them. Like, dude, where's your money?
Yeah, Venmo.
The worst. I don't know how people can live like that, knowing they owe people money.
I think they just don't remember. I think
you
think they do?
Yes.
You think every day they go about says I've made the mistake of not realizing that I owed somebody, and I'm always really embarrassed, but it's because I'm not thinking about it. But like I think anybody that I would ever owe money would know. They know how I am.
Yeah, but for a lot of these people, it's the same people every time.
Yeah, that's
you go
true.
on the same bachelor parties with the same crew a lot of times.
Yeah, that's
or
true.
Golf trips.
See, I'm kind of far removed from my bachelor party life. Like it's been a long time since I've done that.
Dude, the last 2 years, I had so many. And I think everybody had so many weddings to go to just because of COVID breaking a lot of them up. But the amount of bachelor parties and money I spent going to those things the last 2 years
is crazy. Asking people to spend that much money for you, like for your stuff. Like, and I guess it's just this implied agreement that everybody, you're going to do it for me, but I'm going to do it for you. And so we're just going to have more parties. Like,
yeah, I've had none this year. Probably won't have any for a couple.
Now you've got a really good excuse to say no.
But here's the thing. I probably won't have another one for a few years. I still have a few friends that'll, I probably have some bachelor parties to go on, and by then I'm probably going to be like, you need a
break.
Go play some golf, go hang out.
That's good. I mean, so like a part of my
wife's probably listening to this.
That's fine. You'll be all right.
She knows.
You'll be all right. No, I was told the other day that I haven't yet reached the stage of my golf addiction that like I haven't like agreed to play and didn't tell my wife.
Yeah.
Until I like got there, So
you'll probably start getting a lot of
like scheming
these golf reels on Instagram of like asking my wife to go play golf and like her reaction. There's a lot of those.
Yeah, I've seen some of those. All right, man. What else we got?
All right. Let's see. Let's go with this one. I think I know that. Rich and famous or rich and unknown?
Rich and unknown. Rich and unknown. Is that a surprise?
No.
Yeah, I don't care to be famous. I mean, like, I try to make myself as well known as possible for our business currently, but I think it has a real impact on the success we're able to have. Basically, kind of with the consumer real estate question that we opened the episode with, like a big following is kind of imperative. Mm-hmm. But if I didn't have to, then I wouldn't care.
I think it sounds like such an easy answer, but I would argue there's a lot of people out there that would rather be poor and famous than rich and unknown.
Oh yeah, but I definitely wouldn't want that.
No,
I
but
wouldn't
there's
want
people out
that.
there that would, which is just mind-boggling.
Like, well, and I think that's possible because of the famous for being famous kind of,
Mm-hmm.
situation. I mean, you can attribute that to whoever you want, Paris Hilton, Kim Kardashian, whoever, right? They're famous for being famous. But, yeah, I don't need people to know who I am and what I have. I mean, the moment that I become independently wealthy, then I need nothing else from anyone, except those that love me and that I love and that, people that I want to spend my time with. That's great.
Now, if you are famous and rich and you're getting into golf, you can maybe leverage that into playing with some pretty cool people.
That would be cool.
That's when I think of like famous. It'd be cool to be famous to know other famous people.
Yeah.
And not like the
But-
famous people I'm talking about are like sports icons I look up to.
And that's just it. It needs to be people that you look up to. Like I have no interest. Like I'm any famous people I've ever met, I've always been kind of disappointed.
Yeah.
Like oh, they're not.
Can you put any on blast right now?
No.
Say any names?
No, not really.
Come on.
Not really. I don't feel like that's the right thing to do. I
tried.
You tried. I'm not a gossip either, man. I mean, there's I don't know. There's a very large real estate personality that I've met and was not impressed.
Oh, I know. I'll say one that
But
I
we're
listened talk on stage. I wasn't impressed. Frederick Eklund.
Well, it wasn't him. But,
Terrible.
yeah, you told me about that. So, anyway,
All right. We'll jump back into a couple real estate ones real quick. This is more around you investing.
okay.
Short term or long term rentals. What do you prefer? What's the pros, negatives?
Long
of
term
both?
for sure. Short term is volatility. The pros for short term rentals or STRs or Airbnb, VRBO, whatever you want to call it. You generate up to probably 3x revenue, but you get, in my opinion, 5 to 7x effort.
Yeah.
Right. So, I've got this time arbitrage kind of mental gymnastics going on all the time. I told you I like my personal time. I like my, coaching my kids' sports. I like being around them at this stage of my life. That doesn't mean that will always be the case. Of course, I'd love the opportunity to 3x my revenue on all of my rentals, but like if it comes at the expense of effort, like I don't cut my own grass, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be a short-term rental manager that has to spend 5 to 7x the effort, right, to generate 3x the revenue if you're lucky. And that's the thing. It is extremely volatile. Like as you're asking me this question, I'm seeing, notes pop up in my feed saying, is Airbnb dead?
No.
And no, it's not. And it's not going to be. But the truth is, the jig's up a little bit on it. I mean, you got right here in Louisville, there's a moratorium on conditional use permits, right? So, municipalities are finding ways to limit, control, and regulate, and all that leads to a harder environment to do business.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it probably leads to a better experience for the consumer as well. So I'm not mad at it. I'd rather do long term.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Let's use these last couple of minutes here. Let you kind of plug a couple things you have going on. So one, we've done it before, but the Remax Golf Scramble, the charity, teams. If you want to put a team in, you can. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do a charity golf scramble. This will be the second year. We do it at Hurstbourne Country Club. It's gonna be. I'm gonna have to pull up the date. It's in October. It'll be a Monday, right? Hurstbourne's an amazing course. They have been very welcoming. We had a great time last year. You can do a foursome. You can do a sponsorship. We've got some of our sponsors that actually sponsor this show will be involved. Ryan's committed to putting a team in. He's gonna bring in the ringers and probably win it. So unfortunately, unless you're bringing Phil Mickelson, which might not be the best guy to ask right about now, but unless you're bringing Phil, you might have some trouble.
You know what you should
pulling
do
out a
though
win
for
on
the
Ryan.
winners? Like a lot of scrambles do. First place wins something, last place wins something, and like eighth place wins something.
Okay, we did first, second, and third last year, and the prizes were pretty good. We had foursomes to like Valhalla, to Hurstbourne. We had some pretty good packages for the winning teams. We also We also had a nice silent auction. We raised over $25,000 for Children's Miracle Network, which is the benefiting organization. They work directly with Norton's Children's right here locally. The majority of the funds that they raise stay and go to work right here locally in Louisville for families that are battling, typically cancers or other illnesses that land them in the hospital. So it is a great organization that has been partnered with Remax for a long time. We raised as an office over $50,000 for them, including the golf scramble last year.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So pretty special.
It's kind of crazy how close October is.
It's sneaking up, which we talk
We're
about
45 days away.
We talk about putting a team in the scramble, and I'm like, oh, let me see. Let me think about this. That date is October 23rd, by the way. So it will be late in the season, but we've had good weather in October before. It was a little chilly last year, which Ryan was on his honeymoon last year, so he couldn't join us. He'll be there this year. But yeah, if you want to play with us, like come take a look.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah. No, it's going to be exciting. I think that's all the time we got for you today, actually. And, we do appreciate you tuning in, though, every week, spending a little time with us, hearing our, crazy stories and would you rathers and this or that. But that's all the time we got this week. We'll catch you next week right here on Talk Radio 1080 for the Jay Pitts Show. I am Jay Pitts with Ryan Harris. We'll see you soon.
Later.